I'm Whitney Zaino, married to Chris Zaino. We have two boys, Justice, 8 years old, and Titus, 2 years old. And I'm kind of more behind the scenes of Chris's businesses and help with accounting and any attorney things or finances, kind of behind the scenes. So
I'm Dr. Zaino. I'm a chiropractor in the Woodlands, Texas, and Whitney and I started that 10 years ago, and it's been great. And but even though we started that 10 years ago, we still had a poverty type scarcity mentality, and it's really from our backgrounds we came from, whether it be my family trying to get rich quick and losing it, or Whitney's family having issues in the same way, and that's what we grew up seeing. So that became sometimes your biggest voids become your highest values. So unfortunately, our biggest void was, are we going to turn into our parents? And so we always lived in that type of scarcity mode. And about probably a little bit over maybe 3.5, 4 years ago, one of my colleagues, was working with Garrett. And I was just kind of at that cutting point where I knew something had to change, and because I trusted him, he was a good friend. Then we contacted Garrett and Freedom Fast Track at the time, and it started a process that was amazing because it educationally made sense logically, but our hearts still were in that scarcity mode. So along with the trust and just having a great team as you guys did, now looking back 4 years later, and we'll talk about it probably a bit later, now we really see how like what it came into, and that we're actually living the life. Now we just don't know about the principles. We're actually living the principles. It's part of our DNA now, and looking back, we always say, meeting Garrett and the team was the best decision we made, because it wasn't just on the financial level, it was a living level. It broke that scarcity poverty mentality, and that's like an elephant sitting on your chest. And I know there's so many people out there, whether it be chiropractors, that they live in fear of that, and it's ruining their lives. So we really are now, and we just really, I would say, started getting into the groove of with the philosophy, and it's the best thing ever. It really has been.
So some people kind of look at the program like they fix something in a year and then they don't continue on like you guys continued on. What would have happened if you stopped after the first year versus here we are in the fourth year?
I would have went right back to scarcity. I would have been the guy that said, "Oh, it didn't work for me," because I would have went back to my old habits, my old ways. Like there's a process. You got to trust the process. The first 6 months, I mean, the amount of paperwork and stuff we had to do, it was unbearable. Like for you,
it was
I remember
it was aggravating.
You had to fax all that stuff over or scan it. So but you know what, it was part of the process.
Yeah. And just like a patient, and what happens if a patient quits after a year? They go back to what they were doing before.
Yeah, what happens when you stop brushing your teeth after a year, or you stop going to the gym after a year?
And there were so many levels. The first level was like just this intro level of what they can do for us and what we can learn from them. And then each year, they keep on opening up new and more things for us to do. And even this trip, we've just gone to this other level of, we're like, oh my gosh, it's just things that we weren't ready for before, but now we are. So it's neat to see the progression and where you can keep on going with the process.
It is a lifestyle mindset.
Yeah.
A philosophy is something that you live. You don't just kind of because if you do something for a little bit and stop, nothing happens that way. Quitting never got people in. You can't win a race and quit.
So what I really heard in what you just said was the first 6 months was the hardest. You're almost 4 years in now, but that first 6 months, organizing, gathering information, getting all that to happen. And yet some people stop after the first year. Second is some people don't even get started. The number one excuse I hear is, I don't have the time to do this. The second one is, it's expensive. How would you address those different things?
I mean, when it comes to time, you make the time. I see people, I know one thing, you get what you want. So if you really want something, you make the time for it. I'm one of the busiest doctors, in my profession, and I made the time for it. The expense reason, it's almost the same thing. Time is actually more of a precious commodity than the expense. I think because of that scarcity poverty mentality, or everybody's looking for the cheaper way, or they feel that $1 out of my pocket is now someone's taking it from me, and then they're worried about that. They don't want to do it, and so they make up excuses. All it is excuses. So let me tell you right now, if you put a gun to my head and said, if you don't raise $2 million by tomorrow, I'm going to take your family away, I'd raise $2 million by tomorrow. You know, why? Because I have a big motivation. Why? You know, I want to do it. And so I think the same thing. When you know the right thing to do, there's no way you could, when I read Garrett's book, Killing Sacred Cows, there's no way I could read that, understand that philosophy, talk to Garrett or his team, understand that philosophy, and I know it's the right thing to do. It makes logical sense, right? It's the principles are there. So for me not to do it, I have to make some type of excuse to justify that. So I know I need to do it, but it means I might have to change. I might have to be a little uncomfortable. I might have to go through some growing pains to let go of old bad habits that I have had. And so I'll make up an excuse. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. Oh, my accountant's good the way it is. I could have someone else do it that way. So they have to psychologically justify it to reason why they're not making why they're not going through with making a better decision that will better their life, and it keeps them the same way, and they don't move, they don't change. In fact, that not only do they not get better, but you're either growing or shrinking. So you're shrinking. There's no staying the same. And I'm just glad I did it. And I'm really having a friend, having a friend that I trusted. That was very important for me. And after we talked to Garrett. But I would even say in the beginning, those first 6 months, you're like, what's going on?
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, and just looking at things that people don't want to confront. Like,
Right.
Okay, how much am I spending on this? How much are we spending on that? And people don't want to deal with that. You know, it's very uncomfortable. And then but you need to, you need to do that work so you can have a realistic view of where you're at and then to have a goal of where you want to go. You can't do that by just blindly, just keep on paying the bills and going, or even if you're saving, some people do, like we were doing 401ks and we're like, okay, we're saving, we're good,
That's what someone told us to do.
yeah, we were doing,
Blindly,
yeah.
But what's
So
it like now for you, Whitney, that you've confronted that? I mean, and what's it like because you confronted that?
Yeah, I think it just makes me more conscious of what we're doing, what we're spending our money on, and it also even allows us to spend more money. I know it just sounds weird, but before we were very, we were very tight. We were always like, we're going to live below our means. We're going to be very careful. We were very responsible with our money. We saved a lot. We paid off debt. I mean, we were very good with our money, but then it held us back. Like we wouldn't take vacations or we wouldn't buy this. And, it was just, it actually freed us up because we did make a lot of money and just kind of opening up our eyes to, hey, we can take this vacation and not feel guilty about it or like we're wasting money or, and so it's.
Great point.
We don't have to leave this part in that I'm about to ask. It'll be up to you guys. But when we started this process, we didn't have to do a certain type of asset protection trust.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys have actually grown so much in your net worth and the value of, on paper, not just individually, that we've actually had to do different estate planning to avoid certain taxation and to avoid, any financial people or, we call it financial pirates and predators coming after you. We've got, we're now talking about, you guys are in this upper echelon, and we've got you to private banking, and we've gotten you. Yeah. So what percentage do you think your net worth has gone up? You said you spent more, but you're also
we spent more, but it still wasn't just reckless spending. It was spending on smart things or things that improved our quality of life. So that was one thing that was really exciting for me on this trip is just that I remember a couple of years ago. Andrew Howe was explaining that trust, and he was like, but y'all aren't ready for that yet. And I was like, oh, okay, but now to see that, okay, we've gone up to that next level and now we do get to do that. It seems like a privilege, it's exciting, and it's it just kind of like the next level of wealth is exciting to be at. So I don't know the percentage. I'm not good with, but what percentage but it's increased a lot because it's probably doubled.
It's doubled.
Yeah.
And not only did it double, but I mean, here's let's think of it this way. Everybody, just like when I'm in the health profession, I ask someone, what's your greatest asset? And they're going to say health. But in reality, most people, they live and they work and their life is driven by money. Right? You look at this like I don't want to do it because it's too expensive. So you're letting so they're attached to this dollar, right? So let's say that money is their greatest asset. And so if something's your greatest asset, don't you think you need to be in control of that? Right? I mean, but they're not in control of it. So for instance, we weren't. Money was very valuable to us. I worked a lot for it. I want to save for it, but we had money in a 401k. Ask me why. Because someone told me to. Okay. put your money in this guy. He's a day trader. He'll make a lot of money. Okay, why? Because it sounded like it was
Sounded like a
exciting.
good, yeah.
So we were putting our money into areas because they sounded like a good idea.
How about the financial advisor that we went to? We had a follow-up meeting with him after we had invested a lot of money. He literally had 3 cups on the
He did
table,
cup
and
thing.
he was like, "Well, it's kind of like the." And we left. We were like, "That's the last time we're ever
We had
going to
6
him."
different financial advisors. So
It was
I think
so, yeah.
we were giving control. It was something that if something means so much in your life, like finances, and you give that control up to somebody or something else, that doesn't make sense. So I can honestly tell you right now, we have control. Our finances are into areas that we have control of. Right? I mean,
And
so
that we're interested in, and that we're
yeah.
invested
So
in.
the fact that we have control of,
Yeah.
like, now I am in control of my top values of my life, right? I'm in control of the things and the assets of my life where you should be. If something's of a high asset in your life, health, finances, family, shouldn't you be in control of that? And this is exactly what we went through. So in the 4 years, we actually have now confidence, increased self-esteem, increased worth, that we know that our decisions are according to our highest values, and we're in control of that. So now financially, we're in control of that. No one else is controlling that. We finally have control of it, and I think that's why we're spending more, because we're spending to things that are things that we value.
Mhm.
And when I spend on something, it's not just a dollar for dollar exchange. I'm investing into my memories. I'm investing into my family, which supersedes what that dollar does. So money money used to be my master, but now I'm the master of my money. That's what it comes down to.
So the question I have, a lot of people go, oh, I have a financial planner, or I have a CPA, or I like him, I don't want to get rid of him, or I don't need their program because I'm doing good on my taxes. What were all the things you got in the program that you didn't expect and that were more valuable than the money you saved, if there was something more valuable than the money you saved?
You want to go first? Or?
Why don't you go first, and then I'll.
Well, the first thing was that if I was to go and get individually lawyers and tax, they don't communicate, right? So what we got here is everybody is working on you, and everybody talks to each other, and it's like you have a whole entire team. So nothing gets messed up, and it's killer because everybody knows what needs to be done.
A team between the accountant, the accountant, the attorney, investments,
all that,
insurance.
And then everybody knows each other. So in multiple ways, not just in a professional way. And so they all trust that they've been working together. So there's a symbiotic relationship. And then the relationship capital. And this is something where, because like I said, it's just not a dollar for dollar thing that's going on here. There's things that are more valuable than a dollar, such as relationship capital. And what that is the people that I was introduced to, going to the seminars, or where Garrett had introduced me to. It's like the relationships that were built in the last 4 years, and the things that have come about those relationships, and the relationships have been top notch. We have met people that will be lifelong friends in our lives. But if you want to talk just on the dollar amount, these relationships and the ideas, because you have 3 people come together and you share your ideas and you make this beautiful idea out of it. That I started different businesses, probably 4 businesses that I created just from these ideas. It equaled millions of dollars. Because I remember when I first met Garrett, I had given someone $230,000. We sold our one house, took all the money of that house, gave it to this guy, and he blew it all in the stock market. And I thought I lost it. I'll never get it again. But through the relationship capital and having people with great ideas, and I created these little companies and internet stuff and informational things on top of my practice. That it turned into in millions of dollars. It really did. But I provided great content, great information, and I actually helped increase other people's lives. And so so that's a term I want you to think of: relationship capital. Who are the people I'm going to meet? Who are the people I'm going to develop relationships? That could be lifelong friends and/or great business, confiance, JV, or I could get really great ideas from. So that's where I got the term thought leaders from. Thought leaders you have people that are doing what you want to do, but they made the mistakes, they paid the price, and you get to skip all of that because they get to mentor you or apprentice you or show you how to do it even better. And that learning curve. You get 30 years condensed down into a meeting, and and it's great the people that they know that we got to get connected to.
How many of your thought leaders do you think I connected you to?
So Garrett's my thought leader. Dr. Gentempo is a thought leader. Roberto is a thought leader. He's a speaking coach. Who else? I'm sure there's. How about this? The whole concept of thought leadership.
Yeah.
Like the whole concept of thought leadership, of bringing together these minds and relationship capital, so we could, but being the best of their profession. See, in my profession, chiropractic, if I want to be a better speaker, I looked for a chiropractor who was a better speaker, or a chiropractor who was good with their money. So we were keeping it into our profession, but they read a book. Where I got to know the relationship capital. If I wanted to write a book, I got to meet someone who would put it on the New York Times bestselling list. Like you got to
we made that connection.
Yeah. And but let me tell you, you get to go from, if you have an idea and you present the idea, they have the connections to get you right to where you want to be, not just with someone who just tried to the best. And then that was a concept where I realized that you get what you pay for. So when you pay for the best, you're going to get the best. When you try to be cheap and skimp here or there, you wind up paying double because you got to retrofit for all the mistakes that were made. So this relationship capital was so valuable in our lives that I can't, again, it was so valuable, but I can't even put a dollar amount on it.
It is more valuable than any money that we saved.
It
definitely was.
Saved, made,
and we saved some money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was cool, but
a lot of creative ways of saving money that we would have never thought about. Our previous accountants never thought about.
I sit there, I'm like, how the heck do they even figure? And so, why? Because they know their laws and they know their stuff because they're the best in what they do. So if I went down the road to accountant Joe Blow over there, who just, he went to school, he got educated, and he's an accountant, or you go to someone who's not only at the top of what they do, but when you're at the top, they're passionate about what they do. So what's someone do when they're passionate? They study on their own. They become the best on their own. Like that's what they do. That's all they think about. They understand it so well. They're creative, and they came up with things that we would have never known, and the accountant down the road would have never known in a million years. And we would have been sitting there totally bleeding out, not realizing that we could have been living a much better life.
Well, what's funny is a lot of people think of us as like a tax saving firm, but of all the things we've done, what percentage of the time we've spent was on tax savings?
Very, very little. It just seems so. We'll have a quick meeting and they're like, you can do this. We're like, okay, let's do it. And and then it's done. And we haven't spent a lot of time on that. It's things that Brett Sellers has implemented. You know, it's like he tells us, we agree, we do it, and then we save. So
one of the things I want to extract from what you're talking about here, because this is going to be of huge value to the people that watch this. So you used to invest in things you had no control over, that you didn't have any passion for, understanding about, you just trusted someone. And we get this question all the time, where should I invest? I've never answered that question for someone the first time I've met them because it's impossible to answer without understanding them. Let's talk about the investments you guys have developed, because we know it's been millions of dollars. Chiro Thought Leaders is one. The Zaino experience is one. These were things that didn't exist before that are actually complementary to the things that you're currently doing, and you're adjusting less and still making more money. So that seems kind of impossible for some people.
And we've also invested in hiring better quality of doctors and paying them better. So that was an investment where before we were like, we're not going to pay another doctor that much.
Keep your overhead as low as possible.
Keep your overhead low. But now we can be gone for a week and the office is still cranking and our doctors are making extra bonuses while we're gone. So that's another place that we invested. The CA experience.
Yeah, it was CA experience where we trained CAs, the Zaino experience, which was a modeling something. They come to the office there.
They got to see how you really do it.
They really see it's full immersion.
Inside.
Chiro Thought Leaders was a website, and different dinner. All these things came about, and we were able to meet the right people. And we just finished a launch. We were here on vacation. I just did a launch for my dinner, and it was amazing, over a 6-figure launch. And we were here just enjoying time with the family. And all these things came about because there was catalyst along the way working with Garrett and the team that spurred these ideas. And I had no problem taking my money and investing in it because I was investing in something that was part of my sole purpose, it was part of my vision, and we knew that and we had control over it. And so that's why we'd invest in the stock market. It was a no-brainer to invest it back into my doctors, to invest it back in the office, to invest into these things because, it was something we loved and we were passionate about, and it really helped other people and a lot of people.
Yeah, and then from the connections with just Garrett and Gentempo, like y'all have had other ideas, and we've been able to invest in your ideas as well. So that's been neat to be a part of other people's growth as well, not just ours, but other
So
people's
yeah, we help each
also.
other. So because I know if I invest in someone that I know, and I know the type person they are, and it becomes again symbiotic, win-win all the time. It's always a win-win relationship.
And so, would you say, even though you're making more money, spending less time in the office, making more money, and your net worth's gone up double, are your finances more complicated or simpler than when you started?
They're simpler. Yeah, there's definitely simpler.
Because I
haven't even thought about that, but yeah, they're much simpler. And yeah, we have this team that we really, truly trust, and I love how they're all connected. So I can send an email to one person. They're like, okay, well, let's just send it. It's like this little mass email that so that every area kind of knows what's going on, and that's nice. And it's that just increases the trust level even more, because these people, they're all connected. They all have your best interest in mind, and it just feels very safe and comfortable.
But you see the emotion my wife has towards that, and you could sense her sincerity. But I'm going to tell you right now that doesn't happen in 6 months. That doesn't happen either. I mean, 4 years, you're there. So if you want that, it's so nice for us to be able to say, hey, I have my team here that I could go to, and I run everything through Garrett and everybody. So I have this team. They're part of my thought leaders. But you know what? It takes time to get there. So that's why, if you're going to do it for 6 months or a year, you're never going to get to that place.
Yeah.
So now it's just it's simple. It's easy. We know what to do. Like we met this last Tuesday. Boom, boom, boom. It was just, I came out of there excited. I'm like, that was worth the whole trip right there. It was the best thing ever.
Well, let's talk about that meeting. And also, before we talk about that meeting, I'm just going to make one point. It'd be interesting to see. I'm glad that we don't have to see it, but how much money do you guys think you would have lost had we not met because of the way you were investing before?
Oh.
Well, if I met Garrett 6 months earlier, I would have saved $500,000.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have.
Because what $100,000 went to some video game website, 20, this thing that it was all based on ego, things that I had no control over, and they seemed
ridiculous things.
The person who presented it was like, it seemed like it was 100%. And that was our tuition. So Garrett taught me that $500,000 I lost was tuition. It's a learning experience, and it was. And I'm grateful for that experience. But I told Garrett, if I just met you 6 months earlier.
Yeah, we charged a lot less than $500.
I know.
Yeah.
So that's good. Because expense is all relative. But let's go to those meetings that we just had, because I really felt like we got to venture into territory that a lot of people don't get into as quick as 4 years. It's usually the territory we talk about in 4 to 7 years is what we say, and you guys are there. And let's talk about those conversations, why they were different than the ones before, and what you're like now versus when you started mentally, and why we can engage in that.
I think that one of the big things with this past meeting was that before we met y'all, we were always trying to save and trying to, it's like we don't even know what we were saving for. It was like we were just saving. We wanted to hold on to everything.
We rather the money be in a bank account that we could put our arms around and not go like that.
Yeah. We don't want to lose it.
We don't want to allocate it anywhere. We just want to keep it right there.
We would always tell all investors, we're like, we want the safest. They're like, but you're so young. We're safest possible.
And
we still lost money.
Safer
now.
Yeah,
exactly.
100% better.
I know. And then really and one of the neat things was just talking about like the next generations and setting up things for the next generations. Like we've already had like the trust that we're kind of thinking about that for the next generation, but now it's just going to other levels of protecting and passing on money, and the life insurance policies that go back into the trust to just perpetuate wealth for our family to come. So not immediate children, but grandchildren.
It's beyond our generation. And so you see but what I like about it, it's not just wealth beyond our generation, it's wealth combined with our values.
Legacy and values.
So see, again, the wealth being secondary, it's really passing on our values. And our values are what allowed us to get to where we are today.
Yeah,
you do a lot
absolutely.
of work on the value side of things. You always do a lot of work on your own on that too, but we emphasize that. So I just want people to grasp this for just a minute. 4 years or less, and we're now talking about generations like grandkids and great-grandkids. 4 years to change the destiny of a family, right? Because they don't have to start over in slavery and from scratch. It's like now we're talking about how do we create the right incentives? How do we transfer the value so that they don't become trust fund kids?
Yeah.
And how do they, you know, you're talking about investing in your son's passion because he's just doing awesome with karate and everything that way. So I love that. I think that we spent, I would guess, and you guys correct me, 15 minutes on cash recovery, which we came up with 3 new tax strategies and one way to free up $700 a month.
Yes.
And then we've spent the rest of the time talking about your guys' lifestyle and this blueprint of enjoying life along the way and trips that you're going to now start taking. And how you can be away from the office and how you guys could spend more time together and how Chris could do more in bodybuilding and
things that he enjoys.
You
And
go do the things, you know, take care of yourself guilt-free. If you want to go to the spa for a day, I mean, I love that we got into this living wealthy conversation, enjoying the essence of life today.
Yeah, we actually got to set up the living wealthy bank account, you know, so, and it wasn't just a bank account, it had several purposes, and you can expand on that if you want.
You guys are actually one of the, you guys are in the first 10 people that have been able to get to that point.
Wow,
where we set up a cash flow banking simply to fund your lifestyle, but then we use the death benefit that's going to fund your family trust. And so what it does is we're actually going to have you be able to, in anywhere from 2 to 4 years, all your trips are going to be paid for without having it change your cash flow whatsoever.
That's awesome.
And that's just really fun to get.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, we left very excited. Yeah.
I mean, why were you so happy about the meeting, Chris? I mean,
well, because you know what I like that things are efficient, and you have an expert team saying, okay, we went over everything, and this is where you can improve. So I love growth, progression, and improvement, and we were able to improve in these different areas. And we're going to take this here, and we're going to save a little bit here, and you know, the things we want to do, the little changes. So little changes we want to do in our lifestyle is this. You know, we weren't taking vacations, but now that I'm like, you know what, Whitney, once a month, you and I want to get out of town just with my wife. We haven't done that in ever, you know, right? So I want that back. You know, I want to work less in the office and give the docs more money. Be able to do that so I could just enjoy my life and save my body a little because I'm adjusting everybody. You know, I want to start enjoying hobbies that I would like to do. You know, I've been doing this 10 years, and so, you know, and the trips would be really nice. You know, go here, go there, and just really kind of get back to how we were when we first.
Of these trips. I mean,
they're all for the next year. They're already scheduled. We've already picked out where we want to go.
And so,
it's done.
What are those conversations like between?
It's so exciting. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, 401k.
Yeah, that's.
We're having a bad day. We look on the calendar. And say, hey, we're going here.
Let's look at the calendar.
Yeah. And I think the really cool thing about it when we went to the meeting, that the creative things they were doing that we never ever would have thought about, literally freed up the amount of money to have very elaborate, wonderful, awesome trips. So basically, it washed out.
Paid
so
for,
I don't want to say it's free, but it's all paid for. So all the things we did freed up everything to where basically there's no. we're not even dipping into.
What's going to grow during this time.
Exactly.
It's still growing, and that's the exciting part of it. And I just like progression. I like having these things. Again, it's making us feel that we're in control of that area of our life, and we know that we have a team that we trust and that knows what the heck they're doing, that has their finger on the pulse of that, and we revisit it. So if something needs to change, it changes. It doesn't change when it's too late.
It's not reactive.
You know, it's like when the plane's crashing. No, it's like, hey, listen, it's trending this way. Let's do this, and we're on it.
Here's what I think is also kind of interesting for people to know, because I know that there might be people going, well, you know, first of all, yeah, you guys are successful. You came in successful. But the second thing is, we have less risk on your money than when you came in.
Yeah.
And your net worth doubled. That's what I want people to recognize is it didn't take risk. Yeah. It's not high risk equals high return. It's actually, hey, you guys are informed, you're knowledgeable, we're leveraging your strengths, we're finding out who you are as individuals, what's important to you, and then building the plan around that, around your sole purpose, not around just financials, but we've dealt with financials. It's not like that's neglected. It brings that personal to personal finance. And I just love the example that you guys are, because you're coachable, even though you're intelligent, right? You're coachable and intelligent. You take action and you're busy. I mean, it's really like, to me, it sets a standard and an example of what's possible for people. And I really feel like we're in the dreaming phase. We're in the dreams become reality phase, though, because it's not like, what's the one day someday? We're not talking about retirement. We're
not
talking
retirement.
About living the life you guys want today that
right
you'll
now.
continue to live for the rest of your life.
And you know what's really neat? I thought about this in the 4 years that we've known you. we've never had this sit down conversation of, okay, we took a hit. You know, never. And I just now thought about that. There's never been like one bad conversation about, you know, we lost money this quarter or this is not doing good. It's I just, that's like,
we've worked through
yeah,
the recession.
And we've grown in that.
And let me talk from my personal side, because, you know, when we started with you guys, like and I guess the greatest thing is because what you guys do is you pull out what is your sole purpose? What is this? And to me, it was a little bit uncomfortable because I thought I knew my sole purpose, but it wasn't very clear. And because it wasn't very clear, my body would shy away from it because I realized, you know what, I don't have a clear view. And that's okay, because I really didn't have a clear view. But over these couple years, going through this process, I started getting this more of a clear vision. And like this last meeting we had now, I told Whitney, I'm like, in the 4 years, this is finally the time where I could sit down, I'm talking to myself personally, to say, I have a clear vision now what I wanted. So this process also helped me get more of a clear vision of what I really wanted as a person and who I was as a person, because I realized who I was and the things that we're doing, they were subordinated, meaning that I was doing things because my parents told me to, or this person told me to, or it was robotic, but it was never, well, what is Chris Zaino? Who is he? And what is Whitney? And what is best for our family? And what would we like to enjoy? And not listening to other people or what they thought. If they thought it was rational or irrational, it's like, what do we want to do? And let's create this. And I could honestly say, like, that's just why it's the dreaming phase. It started to happen, and now I'm feeling the momentum that we're actually now living our life and creating our life the way it should be. You know, I'm 38, you're 36 right now when we're doing this. But, and even for our kids, the things we want to do. So I realized that in the beginning, you know, I thought I wanted to write a book. So we found the best guy, and then I realized, no, I don't want to write a book. All right, so that was
I got your money back on that.
Thanks. Yeah.
But you know what?
I flexed the muscle there.
But again, you know, I took personal responsibility. I was okay with that. Yeah. Or sometimes like, well, I want to do this. Maybe open up multiple offices. Then we started the process with the best, and I realized, no, I don't want to open it. So do you understand? Even the areas I journeyed down that I thought I wanted to do, learning that I didn't want to do it was way more valuable. It was always valuable. There was never a hit. Yeah. It was like, hey, I'm so glad I'm not doing multiple offices. And trust me, today, it was the best decision I ever made. And you know what? And we had great counsel during that.
Yeah, that made it huge.
I remember Norm talked to us on the phone.
The CEO of our company.
Yeah.
And he said things that if someone was just trying to like just get your approval and stuff, he actually confronted me like almost like a dad.
Yeah.
And said, well, let's look at this. I mean, are you willing to do it? And he literally gave me the dad talk.
He did.
But in such a loving way. He's a great guy. And he made, I don't want to, that's right. This is not the road I want to go down.
Yeah.
And looking back, it's the greatest. So there's been a lot of those, hey, I thought I wanted to go down here. Through the process, I realized this is not it, and we learned.
Yeah, but it's still good that you took the opportunity, you made the connections, you went down that road, so then you could never look back and say, hey, I wish I would have done that. You still pursued it, but then you said, no, I don't really want to do that.
To me personally, so I never want you to think that it's okay to change. You know, it's okay to change your mind or realize that the whole process started narrowing my focus to say, well, this is what I really do like, and so now it's crystal clear. So it took those things to get more of a crystal clear vision.
Well, and I think the lesson in what you're saying here is, there's so much value in finding out what not to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And most people find out what not to do by losing money.
Right.
But we preemptively did that so that there wasn't a single penny lost.
Mm-hmm.
And now instead it's, okay, if that's not it, what is it? What is the core? What is your investor DNA? That's we're talking about sole purpose and investor DNA. And without knowing those two things, people are going to lose money, lose enjoyment, and not invest in things that matter to them or that they know. So they're going to feel out of control. They're going to lose peace of mind. They're going to be subject to, diminished returns in their business because it could be derailing or distracting or frustrating if you lose money. And so I love the lessons that you guys are teaching in this. Why don't we just talk about you've talked about relationship capital lessons. You've talked about having an integrated team as part of the lessons. You talked about having a living wealthy structure through cash flow banking that you're actually going to use to do something every month. What are some of the other big insights or ideas or ahas, whether it was from us or people we connected you to?
I mean, the whole thing. I mean, I went over my big ahas. It was the whole journey and the whole process. Been a big aha for me.
Yeah, I think just taking one thing for me was just taking the time to travel and spend time away from, even where we live, because sometimes like he'll take off work, but it's not the same as getting out of town and taking the time to do that, and it's really helped our marriage because we have done a couple trips already, and just the excitement of him being okay with doing that now has definitely helped our marriage, because it's just like, you know, he finally can relax in the office, he's, you know, and start focusing on other things, and then like other things outside the office, like the online, and then that also frees up more attention for me and the kids, and just going off by ourselves. And so that's something
living
that's
your legacy, not just
not just
And so you guys know what just happened there is I asked you a question and you had to think about it, because it's no longer information to you. You've adopted it in your life, so it's hard to explain. It's like a fish explaining water. So I'll go through just a couple things. Cash flow or accumulation, which one's more important to you?
Flow.
I mean, it's completely cash flow, right?
Yeah.
What's your best asset?
Ourselves.
I am.
Yeah.
And you live that, and that's what you're seeing right now, right?
Yeah.
And do you diversify, or are you focused?
Focused.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're the epitome. You're living out the very
Yeah.
principles that we teach, and I want people to understand that it's now integrated. It's no longer information, because people hear us speak. People hear the words, and even if you think about that first 6 months when you watched the videos, when you heard the words, it might seem, yeah, we're kind of doing that, or we'll see about that, or that's not that important, or I got the soul purpose down.
Yeah.
And then it clicks and it becomes internal.
It definitely
true.
clicked. And for me, I just think it was, you know, I have developed a self-esteem, because remember, we made millions of dollars, and I was, you know, top chiropractor, you know, in the world, and seeing the most people, but you know, there was scarcity, poverty, and self-esteem issues. And so, like, for the first time, like, I feel confident that whatever I put my focus into, I know I have the resources to do it. I'm going to rock it. And so, just like, that's one thing you saw change to me, that I was like, you know, whatever I do, if it's part of what I want to do, it's part of my sole purpose. And I mean, you see it. Like, I have very confidence that I know I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right. Where before, it's like fear of loss, fear of momentum was my motivating factor, right?
Yeah.
So it moved me. Right, it got me to a place, but I was using a negative way for motivation and fuel versus a positive way. And with this, it's gave me just the sense of control and self-esteem that I really need as a human individual to be. Because like, if I'm upset or feeling guilty, you know, it puts me in a bad mood, and they get the worst of me, right? So now when I have self-esteem and confidence, and knowing that this is not, you know, it's not a fluke, it's just not luck. It's predictable, and I know it just that. So as a human individual in the last 4 years, this program has really this program has changed that, because to see that scarcity feared person, or I broke this almost generational / curse, or generational mindset of money and poverty, and you know,
what that mean for your kids?
It's huge.
So the fact that we broke that is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like just that one thing alone, our kids will not be in that, and that just that alone, if you do that, because just think of how that mindset holds so many people back from living their dreams, or going forward, or really living the true authentic life they were really.
How much
created
did you
to have.
dream when we first met? Did you guys spend much time on your dreams, or?
No,
we
couldn't
just
do
worked.
It. We
Yeah.
didn't think it was realistic. It was irrational. It was unrealistic. We didn't have the money. That's going to be too expensive.
Well, and we always kind of
Right.
we still always had this feeling, like, I know you did, especially, like, that it was luck, or that it was gonna, you
It's
know,
all
that
gonna
it
go
was
away
all,
someday.
The principles hadn't been conquered.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
and you definitely had the work ethic. I mean, that's one of the things I just admire about you guys, is your work ethic. You're willing to do what it takes as a couple, as a family. You know, that's just kind of your mentality. But you couldn't work harder than you were already working when we met you. There was no working harder. That wasn't going to get you there.
No.
Well, Garrett, the work
definitely
ethic.
not.
You know, I had a work ethic, but my work ethic was there was a steamroller chasing me, so I had to move. Otherwise, I would get killed. So do you understand? It wasn't coming from an optimal, sustainable place.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming from abundance. It was coming from it was a scarcity. If I don't keep on moving or push the boulder up the hill, it's all going to go away. It's all going to go. Like, it was like I was motivated by it could all end one day, not this. Hey, listen, we have control, and it's sustainable. And now that we know it is, that's why I could leave the office, because I felt that if Superman wasn't there, which would be me, that it would all go away. and so not knowing that I could let go. So listen, I would have developed, like, that type of stress develops cancer.
Yeah.
It's like, and I saw some great friends of mine, very young, my age, just developing cancer. It's like, you know what? This kills me. This is gonna. So it's like, if I don't change, I'm gonna die. Like, did anybody ever get to the point where you feel like
you guys enough, by the way?
No,
I was
right.
just thinking,
well, because I
you go back to
yeah.
the table. No, I'm just kidding.
But what I do mention, I see. Do you understand? Like, I'm showing you that it's a lot more than you really think it is. 'Cause
We
you
can't
really start to
explain
back.
it.
No,
You
Yeah,
guys
well,
have done a better
and-
job explaining it than we.
You know what, like, you can talk about whenever somebody calls you and they want to know about, well, what do they do for you? What do you do there? What do you get?
Yeah,
like,
and
how do you,
so like they're thinking, like, so when you go with Garrett and his team, so what do you guys get? Like, it's
how much
it's
do you
this-
save? How
what do
much,
do? Like, they want to know this kind, but it's like, this is not cookie cutter. This is what was the term you used, Garrett? It was personal.
Bringing personal back to personal finance.
Yeah, it was just, it's
Yeah.
truly personal. It's not cookie
That's
cutter. And I'm like, well, it just depends on what your purpose is. And when I say, like, it's very tough for me to explain it. And that's why I told Garrett, listen, let's sit down, let's get it on tape. So at least I have this to give to somebody, so you can really see our true story.
Yeah.
This
versus,
is good for your kids to
Yeah.
see in
yeah,
the future.
yeah,
versus
absolutely.
I mean, I tell people, like, because they, you know what, they want the prize before they're not willing to go through the journey. It's like,
Yeah.
you got to go through the journey and then experience it, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. But what they do is they see all the effects, they see all the results, but they're not willing to go through the journey.
So what would you, if you just kind of summarize, what would you tell people that are considering something like this in their own life, that are wavering, that aren't certain, and just anything you want to leave the viewers with?
Well, I think one thing people always ask us is, what coaching company did you use, or what program did you use? And we've been through a couple of them, but this was definitely a life-changing program. I would hate to even call it a program. I don't know a better word for it, but it was definitely life-changing for us, and we wouldn't be in the same place that we are now if we hadn't gone through this process. And we're just, and it's fun to have this conversation, because then we get to be even more thankful for what we've gone through with them, and what we've experienced, and where we've come from. So we're just appreciative to our team, and we love you guys, and we just encourage everyone to just take the step and just go for it. So you can't go wrong, for sure.
And I promise you, it is way bigger than you ever would imagine going in. Looking
Yeah.
back now, it was way bigger than you even can imagine. So
Yeah.
Are you
she
guys
said,
paid endorsers? Did we?
No. But I will
We
tell
pay you.
But I will tell you that I went to Garrett after the first 1 or 2 years, and I told him, you give me a price, and I want to be your first lifetimer. That means that you name the price, and I'm going to pay you that price, and I'm in for life. And I've been the first lifetimer, because when I'm committed, I'm committed, and when I know I have the right person on my team, I lock the doors, and we're like this. So the reason why would I do that? Because that's how much I believe in it.
Yeah.